Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Wise Leadership for Women. I'm so glad to have my guest here today, Irina Shulman, and she has such an interesting story that I can't wait to dive in with her. And I apologize, it's Dr. Irina, so I want to make sure I give her that huge credit because I know what that journey is like, and it's important to acknowledge. So, welcome, Irina. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for the invitation. I feel so honored and humbled by this pleasant surprise because I do enjoy reading your articles, newsletters, blogs, and your book. So when you asked me to join in this panel of your guests, I was thrilled to be here. So thank you.
Well, I am thrilled to have you, Irina. We have so much in common and just met sort of by happenstance, lying next to each other in a yoga class.
Yeah,
Our dear friend Jenny, who was
right.
leading us, and yes, both of us having doctorates and being interested in psychology and leadership as well as yoga. So it was really just a divine connection. So I'm happy to have you. Irina, you have such an interesting story, and you are the only person I know who has lived in Siberia. And I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit about that journey. And you've written a book about that, haven't you?
Yes, well, my story about me growing in Siberia and coming to the United States was published in a book, Resilient Women Overcoming Mediocrity, along with stories of other 20 remarkable women. But I do feel like it's time for me to write a different book, more updated one, because this one was published in the year 2017 when I was still working on my doctorate and I was stating my goals to finish my degree, to become an educator. So I accomplished those goals. So it's time to move on and continue to tell my story about my journey from, like you call it, from Siberia to St. Charles. And it's been quite a journey. I grew up in southern part of Siberia, close to Mongolia. It has a mild climate, not as cold as the northern part of Siberia. So we had only 6 months of winter.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, but we still had four seasons, just like in Chicago. We had two, months for spring, two for summer, two for fall, and the rest of the year was winter. But I didn't mind because, that's where I grew up. My first 19 years I spent growing up in Siberia, and we learned how to dress and how to stay in layers when it gets colder and then peel those layers as the spring comes like an onion. Feel great. And I didn't think about it being any different than any part of the world. A lot of people have this stigma or vision of Siberia like a wasteland. It's frozen, covered with snow, and some maybe brown bears roaming around. Well, it's not like that. It's very civilized, it's industrialized. I grew up in the city. My parents were chemical engineers, so they were traveling on business for business. We moved about 3 times to 3 different cities, and I went to the university in a city called Irkutsk. It's located by the Lake Baikal, which is the largest lake of fresh water in the world. And you can see it on the map. It's not wide, but it's deep. That's why it's the largest reservoir of fresh water on the planet. So life was great. I was a happy kid. My parents were leaders. I picked a lot from them, just observing their behavior when they interact with their friends or colleagues, how they carry themselves, how much respect they were getting as leaders. They seem to be having that self-awareness and assurance of their knowledge, of their expertise. And I think by mimicking their behavior, I also got a reputation at school, even among my teachers, because they were selecting me to be the spokesperson or a presenter for a whole class. Because I had a pretty good memory, they would give me long pages to memorize some text and then present it in front of the audience. So early on, I lost that fear of public speaking because I was presenting so much in front of the audience. And I found my voice. I realized that I have a very loud voice that can carry far. So that was fun. But then coming to United States, for a while, I lost that voice because I couldn't speak English. I didn't study English at school. I studied German. So that didn't help. And it took me a few years coming to United States, finding that voice again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's fascinating. Because I think it is so hard for people who come to this country not speaking English. We're not very adaptive on our end when it when it comes to that. So wow, to learn, I mean, and most Americans only speak English. I mean, we have a lot more who speak Spanish now or are bilingual, which is great, but still we're definitely an English speaking country.
Mm-hmm.
So how long did it take you to learn English?
Well, a couple of years I struggled really badly. And then I decided that I need to invest in education. I enrolled in local community college English courses. And then at the same time, I decided to take on some business courses because I didn't feel like I could be staying at the same low paying jobs, low wage employees at the local grocery store for a while. I thought I can do more with my life, even if I learn the language. So some of my colleagues at work told me that I could apply for a scholarship because of low income family. And I was able to get the scholarship and pursue my business education in addition to learning English. I remember taking my first class, it was in economics. And it took me 3 hours to read one chapter because I had to have a dictionary, Russian English dictionary, and translate almost every word because I couldn't understand what the chapter was all about. But it took me, I would say, 4 to 5 years to become more fluent in English language. And it helped that, again, I worked with customers, I worked in the service center, and then I also took the English courses at the community college. And then I had fantastic friends who, like you said, took kind of a mentorship over me. They were protecting me and helping me to get assimilated to the new culture. And they were explaining to me not just what those words mean, but also some of the expressions, because some of the expressions were the toughest for me. I couldn't understand what this means. So they would try to educate me. Oh, that's a good thing when people say that to you. That's a compliment. Oh, no, that's a bad thing. That's an insult. So I was learning a lot about culture. The culture is so different. And a lot of people don't realize that until they come to a different country. It's not only the language barrier, but also the cultural barrier that you have to overcome to become more or less comfortable with how to act and how to behave, how to express yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a really big piece. Each culture is very different, and especially those idioms and slang, to understand that it takes some time understanding the culture too. It sounds like in the book I talk about finding your tribe, and it sounds like you were able to find a tribe early on to really help you assimilate to the culture. And it is not easy to get an education outside of your language, outside of your culture. And it's amazing to me the determination and persistence that you had. And then to end up getting a doctorate here, that's wow, that's really remarkable. How did you go from community college and learning English to getting a doctorate?
It was a journey. At some point of time, I decided to just calculate how many years it took me to get to that point. It was 12 and a half years after high school. So I started in community college, taking some accounting courses. And I found a job as an accountant at Parker Hannifin Corporation, a small division here locally. And I was so fortunate that the company at that time had fantastic benefits. They would cover the entire tuition of their employees if they go after their bachelor's degree. So immediately I enrolled into an accelerated leadership program for adults at Judson University, located in Elgin. And it took me about 15 months to complete my bachelor's degree. And it was super hard because I was working full time, studying full time, and I also got pregnant with my first child at the same time. But I finished all the courses. I got my bachelor's degree in leadership and management. And that's when I realized that I love this field. I love leadership field. I could do so much with my talents, with my abilities. So 3 years later, as soon as my daughter became a toddler, I enrolled in a master's in business administration at Northern Illinois University. And again, it wasn't enough for me. I had to find another job because I felt I could do more than what I was able to do at my small branch where I worked. So I went to work for a corporate for Sears, Roebuck and Company at that time. Okay. Big facility, a lot of opportunities. Started at the entry level. And again, at that time, Sears had benefits that would allow you to reimburse some of the educational expenses. And I fully took advantage of that benefit. And while I was working on my master's, I got my first managerial job, my first director's job, and I got my second child. So wow. I told myself, I'm not going to go after PhD until I'm like 50. So no chances of third pregnancy. But it was quite a journey. And I worked for Sears for about 15 years. And I was very successful in my career. I went from manager to director level, and then later to divisional vice president level, and finished at vice president level. So when I reached that level, that was in my mind, the top of my career, I thought, I can do more. Now that I learned so much about my job, about leadership field, I can now teach. I can educate others. And I've been a mentor of many business young professionals who joined Sears, and I loved coaching. I loved mentoring them. And I thought, what kind of job could I do to be that mentor and coach full time? And immediately I thought, a college professor. I could become university professor, but for that, I would have to have a PhD. So I quit my job and I just dived into my PhD studies, again, focusing on leadership and management, but also well-being of employees at their workplaces. So my major is in business administration, but the specialization is industrial organizational psychology, studying behavior of people at their workplaces. And now I teach leadership courses. Two of my favorites are the psychology of leadership and responsible corporate leadership. Both courses just help me so much to realize my potential and share my real life examples, my knowledge, my experience with young business professionals who want to become a leader some days, but they don't know how. Mm-hmm. So that's my journey from community college to Judson, to Northern Illinois, to North Central University, which I finished in 2018, defended my dissertation on December 31st, New Year Day, and was so happy to graduate with honors.
Wow. Wow. You know, what I love about your story is just, I think it just proves that no matter the obstacles, if you're passionate and determined, you can get there, right?
Absolutely.
And, it's okay to change courses. Mm-hmm. It's okay to change careers, and it sounds like that was a part of you finding your voice, right? Was listening to what you really deeply desired and not being afraid to pivot.
Right? Correct. And it takes time to listen to your voice, because you cannot hear yourself if you're constantly busy doing things. You have to take time to spend with yourself, with your thoughts. And I think two big events in my life that helped me to change my focus. First one was a silent retreat. I attended a 7 day silent retreat through Deepak Chopra's Wellness Center. And for several days, I was quiet, but journaling, doing lots of journaling, a lot of soul searching questions about who I am and what do I want from my life? How can I serve others? And what are my unique talents and gifts that I could share with others? And it took me about 3 or 4 days to realize what I wanted to do, that I wanted to be an educator. Before that, I was questioning myself, what are my next steps? I felt there was some kind of a discomfort within me, but I didn't know what it was. I felt there was a need to make a change, but I didn't know what kind of change or how to make it. But when that thought came into my head, I was so excited. I felt like I found my answer. I started writing in my journal, I'm a teacher, I'm a teacher. It was a huge discovery. And that was a life-changing event. Just being in silence for a few days.
Mhm.
And the same thing happened to me during another silent retreat, which I took for 10 days. I thought, well, if I can do 5 to 7 days, I can do 10 days. I did the same soul searching about dissertation topic I wanted to pick and do my research on. And that was well-being of people at their workplaces and what roles leaders have on well-being of their followers. I found that topic so interesting and so fascinating to me that research on that topic was a breed. I love reading articles. I love reading books on that topic. So might as well do research on it. And that's, I think, what helped me to go through the whole dissertation process with no setbacks. I didn't make mistakes. I didn't stumble. I didn't have to rewrite anything. It was just very smooth, very organic process. It kind of evolved. And I'm very excited that almost immediately I found a job as an adjunct professor at the Southern New Hampshire University. It's like in December, I finished my dissertation. In January, I already started as an adjunct professor teaching graduate level courses. So I'm teaching students that taking MBA courses and masters in organizational leadership courses. And I just absolutely love that.
Wow. Wow. That's very nice. Yeah. I had a question and now it slipped out of my mind, but I know what I was going to say. There's so much aligned for us between our philosophies on leadership, and as you know, my goal is to create 1 million conscious leaders,
Mhm.
and because at that top everything trickles down, right? As you
Correct.
said, that leadership, how do they set the tone for the
Mhm.
culture for their followers? And things that we pay attention to are that culture and that belief that people need to have thriving environments at work and how important that is, as well as this balance, right? This balance of you can't be busy all the time, and taking this time to really reflect and rejuvenate ourselves, and that the reality is we're actually more productive, more efficient, and more in alignment with our passion and purpose when we do that. One of the things I'm hearing as you talk, Irina, I talk a lot about high achievers, right?
Yep.
And I talk about this high achievers syndrome, like when we get out of balance and how that can lead to burnout because we're busy, busy, busy and can't stop doing and can't stop achieving. And what I'm hearing as you're talking is this high achiever who is in balance, right? And it's not about I think high achievers get nervous sometimes about sort of changing their habits because they think they won't be as successful. And here you are, doing what you love, highly successful, and yet you take the time for a silent retreat, or you take the time to do yoga and meditation. And it's just a beautiful example, I think, for the audience about that balance.
Thank you, Donna, for your compliment. I wish I was that perfect. Unfortunately, let's be honest and let's be real. I do sleep up. After I completed my dissertation and as I start learning the new job, everything was different. I was overwhelmed. I was going to a brand new field I've never been before. Academia is so much different from corporate environment. And the systems I had to learn, information technology and communications with students, everything was overwhelming that I think I did get to the point of emotional mental burnout. I did have all the symptoms and I was afraid to stop. I was afraid to take time and moment to reflect and to relax and rejuvenate, because to your point, I felt like I would be losing the precious time to learn more. So I did catch myself at some point feeling overwhelmed and anxious, and I didn't know why I was feeling that way. And then it hit me. I was burned out. I was. And I had to force myself to take day off, like in my weekly schedule, force. And even during that day when I would go out somewhere away from my house, away from my computer, away from my work, I would feel guilty for taking that day off. The entire time I would be saying, no, you could have done this and this today. And instead of taking a day of vacation. So it happens, like you said, all of a sudden, and you don't even realize that happening to you until all of a sudden you feel unhappy doing the job that you love. I think that's a red flag. That was for me. It's like, why am I unhappy? I'm doing exactly what I want, how I want it. I have all the freedom in a day to do exactly what I want. Why do I feel that discomfort? And that was a red flag. So I want to share this message with as many people as possible. To your point, Donna, do not feel guilty to take time off of your busy schedule. You need it. And your followers or even your family, they need it, because you're a better person, better mother, better wife, better sister, better daughter. If you are not overwhelmed and stressed, you less likely to react or snap at someone if you don't feel exhausted. So don't come to that point. Realize there are some red flags and take an action. Just a day off or two would feel wonderful. So don't be afraid to take those as needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think burnout is a real problem among
Mhm.
high achievers. And high achievers typically are not great at asking for help because they're
Mhm.
used to doing everything themselves. They're used to the long hours and the long
Mhm.
days. And the burnout can be very insidious. It happens over time. And I think high achievers also they're very good at not listening to their bodies. They're very good at being up in their head and not in their body,
Mhm.
because they ignore their hunger in order to work longer. They ignore their desire to sleep. Sometimes they even ignore getting up to use the restroom, right? Because you're trying to get one more thing done.
Yeah.
And so when we cut off from our body, we also can miss a lot of the symptoms of burnout, like the exhaustion, the fatigue, the
Mhm.
stress. And I hear that a lot about the guilt
Mhm.
of I should be doing something. There's so
Mhm.
much on my to-do list.
Mhm.
And what I love is educating my clients on the positive psychology research
Mhm.
that shows how much more productive you are when you actually rest and rejuvenate. I
Mhm.
mean, we've all been to that point where we're exhausted and we're trying to work through it. And it takes us twice as long because
Mhm.
we're not as focused, we're not as attentive and clear headed. And so changing your work habits is really crucial to getting that high achiever into balance and
Mhm.
to avoiding burnout, and just reassuring yourself that it doesn't mean sacrificing your success. and you don't have to sacrifice your health or your family either. It's not an either or, it's really an and. How can I be successful at work and at home? And that's really what I coach my executives on, how to do that. And another key thing that you said is that when the things that you love to do suddenly feel like a burden or you're not enjoying them, I mean that's a later sign. So hopefully you catch things before
Mhm.
that, but that is a big trigger.
Mhm.
That was something I saw in myself at the end of my therapy career. Just not my favorite clients would come in, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I didn't want to see them, and I knew this is not right, because these are people I really enjoy working with, and I really enjoy my job. And for me, it was time to make that career shift into coaching. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm so happy to see changes that are happening right now, at least around me. I get more and more requests from my business clients, from even my college, to speak about mindfulness. It's not the same as meditation, because meditation, you have to find a place or sit down, close your eyes, go within. Mindfulness can happen at any point, at any time. All you need to do is just be really, really present
mhm.
and observe what's happening around you. So I'm teaching now mindfulness and meditation to different people, and I'll be talking again in a webinar in January uh, that I was selected to speak for my peers at the Southern New Hampshire University about how to incorporate mindfulness and that awareness of where you are, how you feel in online learning. a
Mm.
lot a lot of schools right now, many universities and colleges went online during this year. So there's big shift in how you present information through online channels, through the Zoom meetings, through face-to-face meetings, because there is not a lot of classroom activities or collaboration. So it's very different now to be mindful as you take courses or you teach courses online. And I'm pulling information right now because there's a lot of research done about mindfulness and being aware of how you feel within your body. And I'm pulling a presentation for my colleagues on how to become mindful instructor, and also how to incorporate mindfulness practices in your curriculum, in your syllabus. What assignments you should give to your students to reflect on where they are in their journey. Some of the best results I've seen in my classrooms related to leadership, I would give students an assignment to journal. It would be a graded assignment. They would have to journal their reflections about themselves, their skills, their strengths, their weaknesses, their abilities, and also their leadership style. And at least 3 to 4 people in each class out of 25, 29 people would say, I'm not a leader. I like to follow, but I don't like to tell people what to do. And then you see the progression from week to week as they reflect on leadership concept and leadership theories and different styles and approaches, such as authentic leadership, servant leadership, ethical leadership, um, and different spiritual leadership. Even we can add now wise leadership, right, to the list.
Right.
At the end of the course, they would have to reflect and look back at their journal assignment, at their journaling, and see the changes. And some of them are like, oh my God, I've changed. I changed my mind. I think I can be a leader now. I understand that leader is not somebody who just tells people what to do, but a person can be acting as a servant, as a coach, as a mentor. I can be a leader. I think I have the skills to do that now. So that's just to me the most wonderful feeling when I read those stories and how people change, all because they tap into their understanding of the concept, but also into themselves and who they really are, what gifts and talents they have, what potential they have. That is so inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I love about coaching too, is just watching that evolution as people really step into their leadership and recognize their strengths and how
Mm-hmm.
they can best influence others and really own their expertise. It's amazing to me that it doesn't matter what level you are in your career or how much you've accomplished, people still struggle with imposter syndrome and thinking like, oh, I got here by luck, or somebody's going to find me out. And it may not be all the time that you feel that way, but it doesn't matter. I've seen it in executives and directors and all levels. And I think when through coaching people and education, of course, people start to see that leadership looks different in different people, and just getting them to own that expertise is it's very fulfilling, right?
It is. It is very fulfilling. So thank you for bringing up the imposter syndrome, because during my dissertation process, this topic came up as one of the webinar topics for students who are pursuing their doctorate. Apparently, that syndrome is highly present in people who are pursuing doctorate degrees and becoming uh, certified as PhDs. And a lot of people question themselves, am I really that good? Am I smart enough? Can I do that dissertation? Or am I just trying to reach the impossible goal? And during that training, during that webinar, I realized, oh my God, I have it too. I have the syndrome. And I was, again, very lucky that during that training, during my journey through my PhD, I was introduced to that concept. I read more about it. I read some articles and some research, and I found out that even some of the most famous people, like Maya Angelou, she had the imposter syndrome. She was afraid to be discovered. I was like, oh, okay. So, all right, I have to just accept myself for who I am, but also stop striving for some type of recognition or acknowledgement from outside that says you're good enough,
Mhm.
and that comes again from within, from that self awareness. And right now, I can say I still have it sometimes, but I understand. I recognize when I have those thoughts. I was like, no, that's okay. That's just an imposter syndrome. Everybody have. All high achievers have
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, and it's true. It's true. And I love what you said about, stopping looking for that external, someone to bestow this title on you.
Mhm.
It's one of the things I talk about in claiming your leadership. I have met so many people who are clearly leaders who don't think of themselves as leaders.
Mhm.
And, I say, like, nobody is going to bestow this certificate on you, like you're a leader now. You just have to decide that you are, and claim that for yourself.
True.
Um, I want to thank you today, because one of the things I think you've done so well in our conversation is exemplify those 5 principles of wise leadership: claiming your leadership, unleashing your ambition, finding your voice, knowing your purpose, and finding your tribe, right? And
Yes.
I'm just really grateful for you to exemplify that today. And, for you to be educating others and helping them, um, learn these early on and find that strength and power within themselves. It's really wonderful, and you're really training that next generation of leaders, which is going to have such an impact on all of us. So thank you.
You're welcome, Donna. But thank you for publishing your book, because in this book, what I realized is that my journey is not over. The chapter 14, where you talked about showing up as a wise leader in the world, that spoke to me,
Mm,
because although I felt that I accomplished a lot at my family level as a leader, at my work, And at my local community, I still did not have a chance to show my skills at large scale. And it's very challenging and it's a little bit scary to step out to that level, out of your comfort zone. So I started thinking, you made me think, what can I do as a wise leader on a global level?
Mm.
And the first thought came to me, I'm a great networker. I know so many people in so many different countries who are life coaches, spiritual coaches, and well being coaches. And what I could do, I can start reaching out to those people and connecting not only with them, but also creating a network of those individuals, get them to know each other, introduce them to each other, and see what we can do as a collective mind. Because I have friends in UK, Canada, Mexico, even Dominica, all over the world, and many leaders here in the United States. And as a group, we could do so much. We could share best practices. We could see what people in different countries are doing and share those best practices with others. So thank you so much for publishing this book. I really enjoy reading it. It helped me to reflect on my accomplishments and also realize what are the next steps for me. I don't think I would come to that conclusion, or especially now during 2020 and getting ready for the next year. But now, since I read this book, I think I'm ready to step to the next level and become a wise leader and show up in the world.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And it would be wonderful to have that international community.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to see that evolve for you. That's wonderful.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome. Any last words you want to share, Irina, before we go today?
Well, first of all, I again would like to thank you for inviting me to this series of wise leaders. I feel humble. And the word of advice I have for viewers and listeners of the show is that believe in yourself, be true to yourself, be authentic. If you need help finding your voice, search within yourself. You have all the answers that you need. And if you just find the time, the quiet time, time of stillness, ask yourself these questions. Who am I? What do I really want? How can I serve others? And what are my unique talents? So I hope everybody will have a chance to take a pause, take a moment in their busy life, in their busy schedule, and find that time for quiet reflection and hopefully an understanding of how you can become a wise leader.
I love that, Irina. Those are beautiful questions, and I invite the audience to answer those questions and to share what you like in the comments. You can connect with Irina on LinkedIn, and I will be sharing places that you can connect with us in the comments as well. I just want to thank everyone for showing up today and for sharing this Wise Leader community. We're here every week at noon Central Time on Wednesdays, and you can also catch the recordings on YouTube or on my website, drdonnamarino.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.